Hey, we are back with Professor Abramelech.
War is the antithesis of everything about harmony. It is described as anger or as distraction. The Hebrew word satan comes from the word to deviate from the course. A deviator, distractor. Viruses, microbes, some help and some attack. War is the all-out conflagration of contrarian forces to undermine and to use by proxy and by people who don't even know that they're carrying out the mission of war. There is confusion, and there are tricks, and there is propaganda, and there is everything unhealthy for the cohesion of small groups. The biblical story is no stranger to wars and to conflict. And the history of the rabbis 1,500 years after the biblical period was also no stranger to conflict. And in one of these stories told in the Talmud and in the Midrash about the students of Rabbi Akiva who died in their tens of thousands because of unnecessary hatred, and that the correction to unnecessary hatred is unnecessary kindness or extra acts of kindness. We see how strange and confusing this is in the time of Corona, where it is very difficult in many ways to show acts of kindness to someone who you need to be distant from. And even hugs to your beloved are the things that may cause them the worst outcomes. So that there is great confusion in our social interactions. It is interesting that that period of time that the rabbis talked about, the students of Rabbi Akiva, represented one of the great transitions in Israel history from statehood to diaspora and to decentralization. And it seems also here that after a period of plague and social disharmony, that everything has been thrown into the works, and it is not clear how people can function properly, harmoniously with each other according to good protocol. And after this period of time would come a great era of decentralization of how humanity operates, and that may be the way to see the silver lining on these dark clouds. The great story told by the rabbis, by the tradition I belong to, is that interpretation is the way forward for reality, that situations should be seen in terms of not of their problems, but of the reasons or the solutions, that born in a problem is its solution or the way forward. And in sad days and in war and in tragedy, one needs to see the causes of these tragedies. The Hebrew word for war, milchama, has a very distinct letter, the letter chet. The letter chet is interesting because it is the basis, the key letter for wheat, and also for chayil, for soldier, also for chol, that sand, but the idea is that it spreads in many, many seeds into thousands or hundreds of thousands, that the pursuit of war is for wheat and for food and for commodities, for the things that people need, for the cash crops that people need continually, and the difference between the people that fight for wheat and for land and for crops and for short-term possessions, as opposed to those nomadic mindsets of the early patriarchs that took their wealth in their flocks of herds, and they moved from place to place so into greener pastures. And if there were problems, if the wells were taken, or if they were no longer welcome, they would take their flocks elsewhere. And these two ideas of both of settled and of moving types of groups are that took millennium to develop over periods of time, are actually in dialectic today, right now, in the things that we do, between maneuvering, between moving, between our relationships with other people and how we do so. This is a art that is now being realized that we can now achieve with the ages of complex tools. And that is a great journey.